Have you ever felt this quiet pull or feeling towards something that you just can't quite explain? Not a loud voice and definitely not a clear path. Just this constant feeling that the life you're currently living doesn't align with what your soul is telling you. Maybe everything looks fine on the outside. You're doing what you're supposed to do, but inside there's this feeling like your soul is almost tapping you on the shoulder, asking for more. I believe we're taught that purpose is something that you have to find. Like one day it just clicks and everything makes sense. But what if purpose doesn't actually arrive with clarity? What if it arrives as a pull before you feel ready and before you feel brave enough to do so? Because here's the truth. The things that usually scare us and excite us the most are usually the ones that matter the most. Stay with me. And ignoring that pull doesn't make it go away. It just gets quieter as days go on and years pass. And one day you'll realize you've been living a life that's someone else. If you've been feeling called towards something lately, maybe a dream that you keep pushing away, or a version of yourself you're afraid to step into, or maybe even you see a life that resonates more than with the one you currently have, then this episode is for you. You're not lost, you're not behind. You might just be standing at the edge of who you are becoming. Let's talk about what it means to be pulled by your purpose and why that pull is worth listening to. Hi, my name is Shayna, and this is my first episode of my new podcast, Inside Thoughts. And today I wanted to talk about that feeling that you just feel, but you can't quite put your finger on it. And you feel like you're supposed to be doing this thing, but society's telling you that you need to do something else, or you're worried about what your peers are gonna think or your family. So I just really wanted to talk about this because this is something that I heavily resonate with right now. And I'm gonna go over a bunch of different points and some stories that I have went through, and I'm excited to get the first episode started. So welcome. My first point is the knock. And that is that feeling that you get that you just can't push away. Like it just keeps coming back to you. So say, you're working at a job that doesn't feel right, but it's almost what you feel like you're supposed to do, but you keep feeling your purpose. Maybe say you want to be a movie director. You keep feeling that coming back to you, but it just like slowly comes back to you and you don't know why it's there. You don't know what it's trying to tell you, but you can just feel it in your soul and you don't have anything to pinpoint it on. Like you don't have any facts to back this up. You don't have anything to back this up. It's just a feeling that you have. I honestly think that this feeling is such an interesting feeling. I'm going to go into something that I'm experiencing and that I have constantly been experiencing since I can remember. This started when I was probably like 8 or 9. When I was younger, I always used to watch YouTube videos and I loved YouTube and I always wanted to be a YouTuber. As the years went on, I just kept feeling this pull towards, being a content creator and helping other people and being authentic and real and raw. And I find every time I try something else, somehow it never feels as right as it does when I think about me doing, content creation and vlogs and podcasts. There's just a certain feeling that I have when I do this one thing, or when I do, sorry, let me reword that. There's just this one feeling that I have when I'm doing, my podcast or my YouTube or my TikTok, then something that is completely opposite than kind of what society is telling me to do. It just never feels the same. But whenever I think about what I really want to do, it never feels wrong, but I'm just very uncertain sometimes because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how, I am going to get there or when that's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty with that. So I just want to say you are not alone within that uncertainty feeling because it is very normal. And I truly believe that everyone kind of has that feeling. Some people have a clearer path and some people don't. So that brings me to my next point of fear within the feeling of that. So I really think that fear kind of blends into this a little bit because it's almost that it's so unknown and it's so different than our lives that we're living right now that our brain almost just can't process the feeling of having that lifestyle. So I really truly believe that fear kicks in when we have those feelings sometimes. And it's like our monkey brain going, but our intuition's telling us something different, and they're kind of like fighting back and forth. So I think truly just feeling that feeling is something that can really, really help you advantage in pursuing your purpose or leading with purpose. Okay, now I am on to my second point, and that is, what is purpose? Now, I believe that purpose is what our souls came here to do. And I truly think that it is such a gift to find your purpose and to feel your purpose and to kind of know your purpose. Not necessarily finding your purpose, but like, anybody can find their purpose at different times in their life. Some people might know it since they were born, and some people might just find it when they're 20 or 30 or 40 or 50. Like, you will find it, or, you might always have it within you. I truly think that purpose is also just the quiet knowing that you have in your head. Again, what we were talking about, that you can't really put your finger on it, but it's just there all the time. And sometimes it's quieter and sometimes it's a bit louder, but it's always just like this calm feeling that we have inside of us. I think a really big question to ask yourself is, what pulls you? What actually pulls you? When no one's around, if no one had anything to say, what would you do? Or what, not necessarily what would you do, because I know it is hard when we have different, like, everyone has different opportunities in life, and it is hard, but what do you feel called to? What kind of sits with you? And I feel like if we really find that, or, hone that feeling in, we can sometimes get a little bit more of a clearer idea on what that purpose is and why it's calling us and what we need to do to grow and to get to that life or that goal or that person we want to become. Moving on to my third point, and that is, your purpose is your purpose. It doesn't matter if it's big or if it's small. It doesn't matter if you want to be the biggest movie star in the world or if you just want to be a mom. It really doesn't matter. Or even if your purpose is to just make other people's day. I truly believe that a purpose is a purpose. It doesn't matter how big or small it might seem to you. Just because someone else's purpose is something that you may seem that is way crazier or way bigger than yours, doesn't mean that your purpose has any less value. I strongly want to say that your purpose can literally be whatever you're being told it is, okay? Purpose can also be quiet. It can be relaxing. It could be, you just becoming healthier and you being a healthy person, or it could even be you being able to move and being able to sing and dance and let out things that, your past ancestors weren't really able to do. It truly just comes down to you as a person. I really think that with social media, we have so much access to what everybody else is doing, and it kind of becomes hard to really realize what our purpose is and what our thoughts are and what our dreams are, because, we're seeing all of these different things, and it's like, how am I supposed to even know? Because this person's doing something so big, but I feel like I don't want to do something that big, and that is okay. We weren't meant to see all of these people and all of these expectations. So, focus on what your purpose is and what you feel called to do in this lifetime, and trust yourself. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter if this person's goals or life is, they have more money or they have all these more things than you do. Trust and believe in yourself, because that is what you're meant to do. And I know comparison, it really gets the best of us. I compare myself to people. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't compare myself to people, because I do. Being aware of it and knowing that you matter and that your purpose matters can help actually open your eyes to that feeling, that knowing, and that knock, that pull that you have towards whatever it is. My last thing that I want to say, with your purpose being loud or small, or with your purpose being big or small or whatever it is in between, is that a purpose doesn't have to be loud to be real. Next point. I know, but I don't know how. I feel like a lot of these topics are kind of the same, but I kind of just wanted to go into depth into different areas of what I'm trying to get across here. Okay, so this is feeling of knowing, but not knowing how. Okay, so I really think that nowadays we have answers to literally everything. You could search up on your phone and find the answer to almost anything, but those things that are spiritual and that are just divine, like divinely guided, and you can't explain those things. Just like how we don't know why we're here. We don't know what happens when we die. We don't know what's beyond us, okay, other than space and what they have found. But like, this is a question where we're just not going to have the answer to. So just because you're confused doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. Confusion doesn't mean you're lost. It just means that you're figuring out what this is and what this feeling is, and trusting yourself, because you know yourself best. You know yourself best. And that is the biggest advice, or something that I can say, because you know yourself best. And the more you listen to yourself is the more you will know when you have these feelings that you just can't describe, put your finger on, then you know that you might not have the answer, but it's there. So just kind of follow it, if it makes sense. I think it's okay to be uncertain in life, and, not knowing where we're going to end up, or, not knowing how our dream is going to happen, or how we're going to get that house, or how we're going to, it's okay to be uncertain, because every single time something that I have felt called to, I never knew how it was going to happen. And my brain couldn't even fathom how it was going to happen. I'm going to talk about a story on how confusion isn't always a bad thing, and it is a pretty normal thing to experience. So when I was in elementary school, my best friend and I always wanted to go to New York. She also wanted to go to Paris, but I always felt really called to New York for some reason. And I just had that feeling, and I didn't know how, and it stuck with me for so long. I knew I wanted to go. I knew that it was going to change my life when I went. I didn't know how I was going to go. Didn't know when I was going to go, because obviously New York is a very expensive place to go as a kid, and to not have your parents pay for it, to, like, it is an expensive place. And sometimes it doesn't feel realistic, because it just doesn't seem like real, like it happened. But I just always had this strong feeling. And then so I graduated in May of 2024, and I went to New York of October 2024 my best friend was already there, but my best friend's uncle lives there. I never really knew that, because he lived in our city and he has moved around, but he was in New York. So I was able to go to New York from my best friend and from him, and I'm so grateful for that. But it's just crazy to think, because my brain could never ever think that that would be how I was able to go to New York. Obviously, I paid for my own tickets and, paid for my own spending money and stuff, but I never ever thought that that is how I would go to New York. So I just want to say, sometimes confusion can be a good thing, and uncertainty is also a good thing too, because we don't always have the answer. We don't know how these things are going to happen. Confusion doesn't mean you're off track. It just means you're in between versions of yourself. Next point is, why does fear show up? I truly believe that fear can actually help us. And you might sit there and say, oh, well, how can it help us? Now, just listen. When we realize what fears we're having and, become more aware of them, we can see what's holding us back. Stay with me. Say that I want to do my podcast, right? I have this really, I just get so nervous every time I go to the camera. If I was to sit there and be like, okay, so what is this? Why am I feeling this fear? Maybe it's because I'm nervous of what other people are going to think, or I am nervous if I'm going to mess up while I'm talking. With our fears, we can really figure out what we need to grow from and what we can learn from. And, fear is a very scary thing, but it usually can be a signal of growth if you let it be a signal of growth. Don't let your fear control you, because sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to become comfortable, right? I really just think that fear can be a signal of growth, and that fear can be a good thing, but we just have to balance it and figure out where it's coming from, and kind of do some shadow work and look inward of what that fear is and why is it blocking us from what we're wanting to achieve, or the person we're trying to become. Taking steps towards your purpose. Sometimes this can be a really scary feeling of doing something new. Sometimes I even feel lazy. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to do, and I don't feel like doing anything. And that's okay. You're going to have those days where you don't want to do anything. I think that we need to just find that balance in being motivated and also taking time for ourselves. But you don't need the whole plan, okay? If you really truly figure out and know what you want and align yourself with that, the universe or God or whatever you want to call it will open doors for you to get to that point, okay? I think that these are some examples that you could implement if you wanted to slowly implement this into your life and to kind of see some results. First thing would be to try something new even when you're not ready, because 99% of the time I feel like none of us are ready. We kind of just have to do it and it's going to feel uncomfortable, but I think that it's a really good thing to try something new even when you're not ready, because after that you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I just did that, and you're going to have like all these feelings of doing this thing. And it can be a good thing to do things even when you're not ready. Follow your curiosity, don't let society dull your light or dull your creativity. Like, follow what you want to do, because I promise you there is a spot for you in this world. There is a spot for this. There is a spot for everyone in this world, okay? Next point is that it is never too late. Again, it is never too late. My cat even agrees. Oh my God, I don't even know what they're doing. But I really think that this is a big thing that everyone kind of feels, is that, oh, it's too late. I'm 50 and it's too late. Or, I'm 19, that's the age I am right now, and say I wanted to start dancing, but everyone else I knew started dancing when they were 2. And I'm like, okay, well, it's too late. It's never too late, okay? If you're feeling that you need to do this, or that you're getting that knock, that pull, that's your soul telling you that it's not too late, okay? And I can't stress this enough. I just want to say this one more time. It is not too late. I promise you. Some people start when they're 30, some people start when they're 15, some people start when they're 60. It just depends on what your timeline is, okay? Everybody is different, and social media has kind of put up that barrier that you need to do this now and you need to, all this stuff, but your life is on the direction of how it should be. Okay, I've been yapping a lot, and I want to go back to my main points that I've kind of brought up, and that is purpose is a pull. You'll feel it. You'll know. It's not even that you have to find it, but like feel it. What makes you happy? What did you want to do as a kid? Feel that pull and trust that pull, because I promise you that is what your purpose probably is, and you really just got to trust it and believe in it. Your purpose matters. I promise you, I believe that it matters, and I think that you should believe it matters too, because you're meant to do this to make better in the world. And no matter how big or small that might seem to you, it matters, okay? And I invite you to sit with your own pull. What pulls you? What do you feel? Like, what makes you feel good? What makes you dream? Like, what do you dream of doing? Okay, sit with that. And at least the first step, just find out what that is. Trust over just rushing it to happen, okay? Trust over urgency. Trust that it'll happen. Trust that it'll find its way to you, because it will. And even though you can't see it and it's not like a clear path, and it's, not like you can't see it, trust it, okay? I promise you. That voice in your head, it's just like your intuition. Trust it, because it's probably right. And yeah, I just want you to know that you can do it. And, if you don't start today, start tomorrow. I don't know. It's just, I think that you matter and you are meant to be here. No matter what your purpose looks like, it's your purpose, and it will change the world. Think about it. Like, the smallest thing. You might think that you being a nice person or a positive person, maybe that's your purpose, being a positive person. So say you wanted to just spread positivity in your day, and you felt like that's what you needed to do, and you waved to one person, or you smiled at one person. Let's use a smile example. Say you smiled to one person. Now think about it. That person could have went and smiled to every single person in their day. Then those people could smile at everyone. It's like a chain reaction. So I truly think that no matter how big or small, even though it might seem small to you, it could be pretty big, and there is a reason that you're being pulled towards it. Okay, so that is it, and I have one little last quote / line to close this, and that is, if something keeps knocking on your heart, maybe it's not asking you to have all of the answers. Maybe it's just asking you to listen. Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of my podcast. And I hope to see you very, very soon. And if you made it this far, I'm so proud of you. And comment down below if you feel comfortable sharing any experiences you've had with your purpose or your calling, or, even just a motivation for other people. And I will see you all very, very soon.